What is good, everybody? So today we are talking about the evolution of roles in Call of Duty, and I wanted to make this video for a while now, and obviously I put out the Roles of CoD video early on in the year, like maybe January, February or something like that, but a lot has changed over the past like 5 or 6 months in the evolution of what roles look like and how players play Black Ops Cold War. And we've seen like teams like FaZe or Toronto really change the approach for how teams should think about Call of Duty. And in Black Ops Cold War with 4v4 now, the roles are so much different than they were in Modern Warfare or in Black Ops 4. And so that's what creates a lot to talk about and kind of update some of our conversation about this. So that's what I'm excited to do. And real quick, before we start the video as well, the Community League Stage 2, the entry is open as of right now for about 24 hours until noon on Friday. So make sure to join in if you want to get into Stage 2 of the Community League. Make sure to sign up because you are running out of time, and Stage 1 was an absolute blast, and I'm sure you guys are enjoy Stage 2. So without further ado, let's finally get into this video. Let's go. Alrighty, so like I said, the change from 5v5 to 4v4 was monumental in like the shift of roles in Cold War, and the video I made early on in the year is still a really solid video, but what I don't think I did a good enough job of was really deeply explaining the certain jobs around the map that need to happen and the differences between the roles and the jobs, and really emphasizing and giving examples of those things. So let's put on our rose-colored glasses. Let's go back in time a year to Modern Warfare, everyone's favorite Call of Duty, especially a competitive scene, and let's talk about the roles in that game. I mean, I made a Roles of CoD video that year or last year, and it was just very different back then about how certain teams approach situations, and there were some more ironed out roles, yet it was still pretty liquid and flexible. There's definitely some confusion still about the difference between roles and jobs and what that looks like. And again, as we've progressed from 5v5 to 4v4, it's become more and more obvious that the roles of CoD are more than not dead. Like, they don't really exist at this point anymore. It's really about the jobs that need to be done, and then the tendencies of some players to do certain jobs more often than others, which could be a role, but it's not like teams are building their squads around these roles. It's more that it just kind of falls into place as squads start figuring out who they are as a team, and that's what we gotta talk about today. So the conversation is, then what does that mean? What does it actually look like, and like, what are the examples there? So at the very tip of the iceberg here, think about it like the difference between like a man-to-man defense versus a zone defense. And in man-to-man, everybody has a specific job. You're guarding this guy, you're guarding this guy, and we're going from there. In zone, you might have to guard a certain area of the map, but even some zone defenses are very different depending on, especially if you're talking about basketball v football and what that looks like, and that any specific player might be guarded by multiple different players or different situations depending on what happens. These certain jobs around the field or the court have to get taken care of, but it might be at different players at different times, and that's definitely what Call of Duty has transitioned into from the olden days of like BO2 hardpoint into what it is today now in 4v4 in Black Ops Cold War. So to continue that sports analogy, think of it like how a quarterback in football has to know the whole play. He has to know all the roles of all the players on the whole field, offensively and defensively, knowing what every single player on the field is trying to do and the way that the defenses are going to try to stop them. And he has to be able to anticipate what could go wrong at any given player, any given second in any given game, and also anticipate where the ball needs to be before the ball is even snapped. And so he has to have an idea of where this ball is going before the ball is even snapped. And in a very similar way, Call of Duty players and COD pros, all of them on the map have to be like a quarterback and have to understand the game to that level and know what jobs need to be done at what times, at exactly what points, to be able to anticipate what the opposing team is going to try to do, and then be able to anticipate the jobs that they need to do before it even happens. And that type of mental processing is going through all players' heads at all times, and that's a big time difference between esports, or Call of Duty at least, and other sports, is that those roles have really disappeared, and you have to know all of them at once. So obviously the other thing that's shifted this year is the difference between the metas, and that now we basically don't really have very many flexes in the CDL anymore. It's almost always a 2AR, 2 SMG meta on nearly every single map. There are certain situations in Garrison and Apocalypse on certain hills or certain moments where teams might pull out a third SMG and roll with that for at least a little while. But on a regular basis, it's almost always a 2 AR, 2 SMG meta. And that's been pretty rare in Call of Duty for it to be this chiseled or this obvious where it's almost always 2-2. And so that's been a big change as well and kind of affected how the roles play. And generally how we would see it is that there are the positions in COD, which is AR, Flex, and SMG. But this year, that flex role has been a real gray area where there's basically next to no real flexes in the Call of Duty League. So that's mattered as well. So now we need to talk the specific jobs in Call of Duty and what this looks like in a game. And so we're going to use the program called TAC Maps, which is a really, really cool program. I highly recommend following the guys, the collegiate COD guys, just do some really good work, and they made this awesome program. And you can download it in the Microsoft Store. So, no free shout outs, but there you are. Take it for what it is. And so let's give some examples. Obviously, there's like the baseline skills in Call of Duty that every COD pro has to have, like the communication, the gun skill, the play calling ability, the clutch factor, the anticipation, the reaction times. All of those things are like base guns, like base skills that we talk about all the time around here, and things that pros do incredibly well. But then there are the jobs on the map that need to be done. So now we got to give some specific examples of what these jobs are around the map that have to happen at all times. And you guys are going to know some of these things for sure. Some of them may not be as obvious, and we'll give some examples of all of them so that you kind of have a better idea of what we're going through here. So again, the first one's really straightforward. Somebody has to be the first player in. If you're trying to break a hard point or whatever it is, has to be the first player in as the entry player. And so here's an example of what this would look like. Again, we're on TAC Maps using this, and what an entry player might be able to do. So we're trying to break a really tough hill to break, the P3 on raid. And how does a team break this? So you've got, look at the red team here is trying to break the hill. You've got one SMG here with an AR. So you've got number one's an SMG, number three's an AR. So let's say they're trying to break the weight room area here and trying to break through towards Van inside of P3. And it's gonna be really, really tough to do. But again, an entry player is like trying to find that information and bait for the information. So this player would like slide out across the doorway, which would make the player number three shoot their gun. And then that allows for the AR to then peek it out and beam the guy on the van. And so now you've got that kill in. So now, the entry's coming back in, shoulder peeking, sliding in, and then he might actually slide out towards van first, or like try to shoulder peek the entrance there. One of the two, he's either trying to slide out and get that kill and maybe bait out number 4 player here. And then the number 3 then can come in and try to kill the number 4 player. In a very similar sense, the players who are trying to break through Zig here, player number 2 could try to like shoulder peek this and try to peek this as best they can. When he gets shot at, he slides back in. And then player number 4 is challenging out to kill the player who's close to your number 1. So now you get that kill. And then player number 4 is sliding out to try to beam the guy who they assume is on the Lambos parked inside of garage. So when he dies, now player number 2 is the one slaying or picking up the kills after player 4 is being the entry. And so now player 4 enters, he dies, and then player 2 comes in, finds the kill on the number 4, and now suddenly you've killed 3 of the 4 players. This team is counting out like, yo, 3 are dead, where's the last player, and then they're probably calling out like he's probably AC or mansion. So then this guy is turning to watch this, so he's watching the mansions push. Then you've got one guy on Van who's already watching the AC push, and then maybe you've got one guy sitting here also watching that as well, trying to figure out where this guy's at. He peeks out, bang, he's dead. You have a full squad wipe of 4 breaking the hill. And again, those aren't roles coming out, but those are jobs that needed to happen, and they're fluently being played between all 4 players on the map. So now let's head over to Garrison to kind of explain, pushing out and the job that has to happen here. So again, generally, let's say that this red team is now trying to break the P3 on Garrison, another hill that's really, really interesting. And again, another situation for the blue team here is that they have to worry about maintaining the spawns. You want to be at the back right side of the map here, while also trying to find these kills and getting a squad wipe on the red team. So let's say this blue player peeks out, the AR gets a shot on him, then he slides out. The number 4 slides out, but he gets killed by blue number 4. So now he's dead. Now they know one player is inside dark, and then these 2 players are pinching at the exact same time. And they end up finding all 4 kills. So they kill all 4 players. They get all 4 kills. And now immediately, again, the whole situation changes, and this is the idea of zone defense, is that you're not just waiting here for the red team to spawn up again, like whether it's in P2 or whether it's in P1. The second you get those 4 kills, now player 4 is pushing into the hill. Player 3 and player 2 are pushing out to create map control. And so this gives you a better idea and a better chance to maintain your hill. Because you got those 2 kills and these 2 players are spawning up, you can push up, get the map control, and you still want to maintain this 1 player at the back because he's blocking the spawns. So you're gonna maybe leave 1 player here to, you know, watch the push through garage or through trucks. Overall, now you have much more map control. So like, let's say these 2 players push through, they kill player 2, but he's gonna spawn up again back here, and now they still have to deal with player 3. And even if they kill player 3, they're still gonna spawn up, and now they have to deal with player 4 who's in hill, while now player 3 is getting that head glitch that player 4 had before, and player 2 is now working his way inside the hill to help player 4 as well. So you still have those same things, or player 2 could go over and help player 1 on the flank if players are pushing through towards garage or towards truck. And these are kind of the big picture ideas of why there's like a zone defense feel where no job is solidified anymore, where everyone's trying to help each other maintain these things, and you're watching all these lines of sight to make sure that you have everything covered. And that's why you have to push out for map control, and that's just an important role that has to be filled inside of hardpoints or in respawns, and especially inside of control. This is very similar inside of control, where you get kills around the zone and you push out for map control. These are all the fundamentals that have to happen every single time for teams when they're working through these role identities. So here's an example from the grand finals, Empire v FaZe on Garrison. I think this is a really, really good example of roles being fluent. So FaZe just got a squad wipe on Dallas. You see they're all gonna be spawning up in back tanks, back bottom left side corner of the map. So FaZe knows they have a lot of map control here and they can make it work. So in their heads, their goal here is to hold the nice bridge spawns and maintain this spawn trap that they have on Dallas right now. And how teams do this is they have usually an AR sitting on top of bridge and watching into the spawn, and that AR can absolutely beam. And so you see that Arcitys is there right now, but Simp is actually coming off of a kill in the middle, and he's rotating back through tools. So a team who doesn't really understand the roles and the map control might leave Arcitys on top bridge, but that doesn't maximize what Arcitys can do. So you can see that they actually end up moving Arcitys to play out top green and then hold P2, while Simp kind of comes over and ends up taking the spot that Arcitys had before and maintaining those spawns for P1, the better side spawns for holding P1 and keeping them in a spawn trap. Arcitys heads over to P2 to keep them in that spawn trap, while Dallas, a lot of teams like pushing through bricks or towards P2 to get a break on P1 and get that time, and they know that, and so Arcitys is ready for it, waiting for it, and they have a great hold here on P1 or P5, P1, P2 because of the time that the setup that FaZe has here and the knowledge that they have of not having to worry about losing the spawn. So you can see that like Celium is backing up with Simp to play for P1, while Abezy is still doing his work inside of P5, playing for bricks with Arcitys, and they just do a really, really good job of playing together and maximizing their roles, maximizing the jobs on the map that need to be done, and maximizing the map control that they have because they're so confident in knowing their spawns and then utilizing the positioning to their advantage. And then another thing that I really, really like in that clip is you can see that Simp and Celium end up switching spots because, again, Simp is playing the spot that needs to be played while waiting for Celium to get a positioning and play that better. So you can see them actually switching spots there, number 7 and number 8 on the mini map, and one goes from basically playing where B search and destroy was, BS&D or outside vents, to then playing on top caution while Simp pushes up because Simp is the SMG and Celium is the AR. So again, there are better positions and better roles to play as an AR, but when you have that SMG in hand, the certain spots on the map just have to be held at points, and the pro teams know those spots better than anybody and are able to identify what needs to be done on the map at any given time, and they play that perfectly, and there's never a step or never a note missed around the map, and that's why it can always be just so beautiful and fantastic Call of Duty like that from FaZe. So this video has already been going on for a while, but the other few things that would be needed as jobs now and not roles would be rotating for spawns. Is that, you know, one player needs to go out there and try to start rotating early, but it's not a given player anytime. Certain players might excel at it better than others. And so some teams might have a guy that's more likely to do it, but it's not like a role like, hey, yo, you always rotate early, because that's just not possible sometimes. And other things need to be accomplished in the map, whether it's holding the old time on the hill or whatever it is. And so that's one thing. The other things would be blocking spawns. And that was kind of an example in the Garrison P3 that we talked about, with the guy sitting on the truck in the back, or the van in the back, holding those spawns. And then watching flanks, obviously, where you can see, even in that clip, in the FaZe clip, you can see like Celium watching that flank, making sure that they don't have nobody was doing any crazy funny business from Dallas slipping through or anything. Just watching that flank while they wait for the push up front in lights. So things like that, where FaZe just maximizes their time on the map doing things that need to be done. And then playing for trades always is a thing that everybody needs to be doing at all times as well. And there's no such thing as roles for playing for trades either. So again, that's only inside of Respawn. Inside of S&D, roles are much different, and it depends on the strategy that you're implementing in that round, depending on what needs to be done, because it can completely change round to round. And we probably need to go more in depth about that inside of an S&D video exclusively at some point in here as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of like talk, this little hangout on a Thursday leading into the 4th of July weekend. If you guys did, like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoyed it. I'm hoping to have a video out tomorrow. Otherwise, have a fantastic 4th of July weekend. And guys, we will see you next time. We out.